The ballroom glittered with golden chandeliers, their crystal facets scattering light across polished marble floors. Women in crimson gowns and men in sleek black tuxedos filled the grand hall, laughter echoing as violins played softly in the background. It was a night of celebration, wealth, beauty, and privilege gathering under one roof. And yet, in the midst of the shimmering joy, one woman stood apart. Maria Santos clutched her hands together, her pale blue maid's uniform starkly out of place against the sea of silks and satins. The white apron at her waist, once neatly ironed, now seemed wrinkled under the weight of her trembling hands. She wasn't supposed to be here, not in the center of the ballroom, not standing beside the family she had served for 22 years. Her place was in the kitchen, where silver trays clattered and hurried staff whispered about the rich. But tonight was different. Maria had come to America at the age of 21, leaving behind a small village in Mexico where the earth cracked with drought and children grew up too quickly. Her dream was simple: to earn enough to send money home, to build a life better than the one her parents had known. The Anderson family had hired her almost immediately. They needed a live-in maid for their sprawling mansion in Connecticut, and Maria, soft-spoken, meticulous, and humble, was perfect. She raised their children as if they were her own, cooking their breakfasts, mending their school uniforms, whispering comfort when nightmares woke them in the night. But she was always the help. The children loved her, yes, but society never let her forget her place. At charity events she disappeared into the background. At dinners, she stood silently with pitchers of water. And now, at this lavish debutante ball, she had been asked, no, ordered, to stand in the open, her presence as an accessory to the family's image of kindness. Mr. Anderson, tall and silver-haired, stood proudly beside her, his arm almost brushing her shoulder. His tuxedo gleamed, his smile polished for the cameras. His daughters, draped in deep red gowns, laughed with the ease of those who had never worried about rent, hunger, or torn shoes. Maria has been with us forever, he announced, his voice warm but rehearsed. She's practically family. The crowd applauded politely. Cameras flashed. Maria forced her lips into a thin smile, but her chest tightened. Family. The word stabbed at her. She had cooked their meals, tended to their illnesses, spent Christmas Eve alone in the servants' quarters while they celebrated by the fire. Family. No, she had given them her life, and in return she remained invisible. Few in that grand hall knew the truth. 20 years ago, when Mrs. Anderson had fallen gravely ill during childbirth, it had been Maria who rushed through the snowstorm to fetch the doctor. It was Maria who had stayed up 3 nights in a row, feeding the newborn when the mother could not. That child, Anna, had grown up thinking Maria was just a maid, a shadow in the background. But in Maria's heart, Anna was hers. Not by blood, but by bond. She had loved her, raised her, sung her lullabies in Spanish when the nights grew cold. And tonight, as Anna stood radiant in her crimson gown, laughing among friends, Maria's eyes brimmed with tears. She wasn't just watching a young woman debut into high society. She was watching her life's devotion stand on display, unknowing of the sacrifice behind it. As the evening progressed, whispers stirred. Some guests looked curiously at Maria. Why was she standing with the family? Why had the maid been placed in the center of the celebration? It was a spectacle, a statement of humility from the wealthy Andersons. She's like family to us, Mr. Anderson repeated, shaking hands with politicians and businessmen. We wanted her to be part of this special moment. But Maria could feel the weight of the stares. She wasn't seen as family. She was seen as charity. Her heart ached, yet she stood still, because that was what she had always done. Later, when the crowd had dispersed toward the dining hall, Anna slipped away from her friends and approached Maria. Why do you look so sad? She asked softly, her laughter from moments ago replaced with concern. Maria blinked, startled. I am not sad, señorita. Just tired. Anna frowned. You never call me that. You always used to call me, mi niña. The words hung in the air. Memories flooded back. Anna falling asleep in Maria's arms, the soft lullabies, the nights Maria stayed up during storms so Anna wouldn't be afraid. And in that moment, Anna's smile faltered. She realized the truth that had always been hidden in plain sight. The woman in the maid's uniform was not just a servant. She was the one who had raised her, the one who had given her love without conditions. As speeches began, Mr. Anderson raised his glass to toast his daughter. Maria stood quietly at his side, her eyes lowered. But when the applause roared, Maria felt something inside her shift. For decades she had swallowed her pride, allowed herself to be invisible. But tonight she was being paraded in front of strangers as a token of kindness. And the ache in her chest grew too heavy. "I need to go," she whispered, stepping back. But Anna caught her hand. "No, stay with me." Tears welled in Maria's eyes. "I don't belong here, Nina. I never have." The room grew quiet as Anna pulled Maria forward. "Yes, you do," she said firmly, her voice carrying across the ballroom. All eyes turned. "This woman raised me," Anna continued, her voice trembling but resolute. "She is not just a maid. She is the reason I am who I am today. And I will not let her stand in the shadows anymore." Gasps rippled through the hall. "Mr. Anderson's smile froze, his polished facade cracking. The cameras, still lingering, captured every word. Maria stood frozen, her hands shaking. She had never wanted attention. All she had ever wanted was to love quietly, to give without asking. But in that moment, as Anna's hand held hers tightly, she felt something shift. Recognition, respect, and for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she belonged. The night did not end as planned. The speeches were overshadowed by Anna's declaration. Reporters later wrote not about gowns or champagne, but about the courage of a young woman who had honored the maid who raised her. Maria returned to the servants' quarters that night, her heart heavy yet strangely light. She knew her world would not suddenly change. She would still wear the uniform, still scrub dishes and polish silver. But something had been broken open. Anna saw her now, not as a shadow, not as the help, but as the woman who had shaped her life. And that truth, finally spoken aloud, was more powerful than any chandelier in the ballroom. Maria lay awake in her small room, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to dream, not of wealth or freedom, but of being remembered, being valued. She whispered into the darkness, "Gracias, mi niña." In the stillness of the mansion, she felt an echo of love answer back. And though the world outside might still see her as invisible, in Anna's eyes she was eternal.